Is Google finally shipping an AI worth switching for? Gemini 3 just dropped faster reasoning, tappable interfaces, and the first real Google AI agent that can dig through your Gmail and Drive like a digital chief of staff.
And Google didn't stop there. They launched Anti-Gravity, a coding environment built for a future where AI doesn't just help you code, it manages agents that code for you. Big signal for where business software is headed next.
Plus, Elon's Grok takes a wild turn from maximally truth-seeking to something a lot more emotional, creative, and vibey. Is XAI redefining its whole mission?
Microsoft is turning Windows into an agent-native OS. OpenAI rolled out group chats. Google wants to buy your holiday gifts automatically, and a startup is trying to bring you your deceased relatives back as AI holograms, and the internet hated it.
This week, we break down the agent revolution and all the news you need to know in 30 minutes or less. It's time for What the AI.
All right, Annie, first story up. Google just released Gemini 3. Is it worth switching over from ChatGPT? That's the question everybody is asking. Google just launched this Gemini 3 and 3 Pro. It's really an agent that with a through line of acting, not just responding. So kind of taking a lot of actions on your behalf. But let's go over the quick stats. It's faster, more consistent, stronger at reasoning across text, images, audio, video, and code. So kind of all the things. And it set new highs on reasoning benchmarks like Humanities Last Exam, the ArcAGI exam, smashing some of the GPT-5 benchmarks that were just set not that long ago. But the real upgrade here, I think, is in the experience. In the Gemini app, answers now show up as dynamic tappable interfaces rather than just long blocks of text. For trip planning, shopping, help, research, it assembles kind of interactive layouts using Google's massive data sources and feels less like chat and more like a personalized app that's being built for you on the fly, depending on what you want to do. There's also the first real step toward true agentic behavior. US Ultra subscribers, that's the top tier, get Gemini Agent, an early assistant that can work inside Gmail, Drive, and Calendar. And you can delegate actual tasks like organize my inbox, find me all the receipts, book a rental car. It's limited today, but it's pointing towards where I think we see a lot of these AI companies going. And there was a little bit of news here for developers. And bear with me, I know this is a little technical for what we normally cover, but Google launched Anti-Gravity. It's a new development environment, very similar to Cursor or some of the other AI-focused ones, but this one, of course, built on Gemini 3. But I think the really interesting part here is Google released it with two modes. There's kind of the traditional write code with an AI helping you. And then there's like a manager mode where you're managing a bunch of agents who are writing, reviewing, testing code on your behalf. And so this kind of switch from helping you do the thing to managing AIs doing the thing for you, I think is a sign of things to come outside of the coding environment into other areas. So I don't know, this seems like a pretty big step, not just for AI capabilities, but also for how we're imagining AI entering our workspace. What did you think of the Gemini 3 launch?
It was definitely like a self-reflection moment because I think over the last year, we've thrown a little bit of shade at Google and Gemini, and this feels kind of like a leapfrog moment where what I've heard kind of early signals from people using it is actually it's far better and is now potentially taking the lead in terms of just not just like accuracy, but also usefulness in some of the things that it can do. So this might be Google's big moment.
Yeah, it certainly feels a bit that way. I mean, I was listening to a podcast about the history of AI, and the amount of stuff that originated at Google is just kind of crazy. Like they built all the things on some level behind the current AI revolution. It feels like they're coming into their own and actually turning that into products for users, products for companies, and not just really sophisticated models. Of course, they were very tempted to just use to turn the ads dial for a long time because it was a big dial and it made a lot of money when you twisted it a little bit in the right directions. But this felt like a pretty different shift. I cannot say I've switched my personal usage from ChatGPT, but it certainly feels like a moment when people might choose to do that.
Well, yeah, you might not have done it yet, but it might be coming. I think the other question that people will start to be sort of, this will really be a test on how people feel about the agentic privacy dynamic, right? Of like now, this is literally an AI that can be embedded with all of your personal information. You and I, as sort of more interested power users of AI, have been asking for a long time, like, when are we going to get this? But this will be an interesting kind of test case to see for the average consumer whether they're really ready to adopt that or not. So I'm kind of curious to watch that as well.
Yeah, it also, you see, Google's put this model into the Google Search AI overviews experience. And so this opportunity for Google to use their AI search, their search dominance to kind of get into more of the AI entry points as opposed to people going to ChatGPT. It'd be really interesting to see if they can get people, a lot of ChatGPT searches are really just Google searches on steroids. And if they can really use this as a moment to grab people back into doing those things on Google with AI overviews, it will be interesting. I do think the privacy question will be a fascinating one, but here's my bold prediction is that despite all the concerns from press and regulators and privacy advocates and whoever, like, I think people's revealed preferences will continue to be people's revealed preferences, which is if Google having access to your data makes the search better, makes the AI agent better, and it can do more things for you, I think people are going to be very happy to let Google have access to a bunch of data. I've already used this in ChatGPT Atlas where it has my whole browsing history. And I can just say, hey, what was that thing I was looking at the other day? I was looking at this thing. Can you find it for me? It's like, yeah, no problem. Let me pull it up for you. I go, oh my God, how many times have you been thinking about? I was on that web page 2 days ago. What was it? I was looking to buy a thing on Amazon. Can you find it? And man, it's so easy now. And I'm like, I'm happy to give up that history of privacy to get that capability. I think that's what we're going to see from users generally, despite all the concerns being raised in the media.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think that this is going to be a really interesting forcing function for sort of policy and politics because there's certain state regulators who very much don't want us to be able to give up that privacy. And I think we want to give it up so that we can have access to what we want faster. And I think ultimately the consumer always wins in markets like these. So
Typically does.
it'll be fun to watch if you are a policy nerd like I am. All right, well, let's talk about Grok. Is XAI quietly redefining what Grok is supposed to be? The new Grok 4.1 update suggests a major shift from maximally truth seeking to something a lot more vibey. So, XAI has released Grok 4.1, now live on Grok.com and all mobile apps, and the company is pitching it as a significant step forward in creative, emotional, and collaborative intelligence. So this is quite a notable reframing. Elon Musk originally made a big deal of positioning Grok as a model built to be maximally truth-seeking and distancing it from the more personality-heavy approaches of some of the competitors. But this release really reads kind of like the opposite, an intentional shift towards a model that feels more perceptive, more human-like, and more engaging. According to XAI's announcement, Grok 4.1 is better at understanding nuance, picking up user intent, and delivering responses with more personality. They highlight stronger performance on EQ Bench 3, which is a new benchmark I had not heard of and I'm thrilled about.
EQ must be emotional intelligence, right? Not actual factual intelligence.
That's right. So it measures emotional intelligence. I would like to apply this benchmark to some of the people I know in my life, but it measures emotional intelligence and significant improvements in creative and collaborative tasks. So benchmark wise, Grok 4.1 now sits among the top performing models in head to head reasoning evaluations without relying on fully activated reasoning models. And in a 2-week silent rollout on real user traffic, Grok 4.1 won nearly 65% of blind comparisons against the previous version. So pretty fascinating.
I don't know that Elon and XAI would describe this as less truth seeking just for the purpose of being vibey, but it is notable that the company founded on kind of maximal truth seeking felt it necessary to have a release. It's more about how it feels to talk to the bot and not how truthful it is. And that feels like pointing to something that will be really important in who wins these battles for becoming the consumer experiences. It's not just about the facts, it's about what it feels like to use these things.
Well, and it's also fascinating to think about, and this is like something that I'm sure some psychologists are studying somewhere, but that the reaction of people when Grok says, "Hey, we're going to be emotionally attuned and vibey," is, "Oh, now you must be giving up the truth." And it's like, can't those two things go together? Can't you speak the truth also in a empathetic way? And as humans, we apparently think those two things are incompatible, which is somewhat frightening to me.
I also gotta say, there've been a lot of reports in the last day or two that people testing Grok 4.1's truthfulness by asking it about Elon Musk. And according to Grok 4, he's, fitter than LeBron James, the smartest person ever to walk the face. He's got a lot of superlatives behind his name, which makes you wonder exactly what sources Elon is finding and pushing the XAI team to use and making Grok maximally truth-seeking. The other thing I do take away from this, though, because it did set records in some of the benchmarks, it was winning against a lot of the state-of-the-art models from OpenAI and Google in the LM arena, so kind of user preference going that way, is just how little defensibility there seems to be around a new model release. I mean, this came out before Gemini 3, so those comparisons weren't Gemini 3 oriented, but it was kind of like if you thought you couldn't take a couple $1 billion and turn it into a state-of-the-art model, Elon again proving that really every time we see advancements in one model, they seem to come relatively quickly to other models as well. And if that holds true, it really is a difficult sign for people who are investing a lot of money in making models without any other source of differentiation, at least economically difficult for them.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to watch. And I think this is sort of interesting to think about also about revealed preferences. And I have to sort of wonder if part of why XAI did this was because the revealed preference of consumers is they like that sort of emotional feeling of chat and how they're maximally truth seeking. Every time I ask chat a question about myself, it makes me feel like really awesome. Like my question was really intelligent and It is not like trying to be a critical feedback source for me. It's really like a hype man. And I wonder if XAI was sort of feeling like it was going to lose ground because of some of that.
It is interesting that when you go from a Google, like, just give me the answer to my question to a conversational interface, then your quality as a conversationalist is as important as your quality of a data seeker, an information seeker, a fact seeker. And so turns out you need to do both to engage and win in the chatbot world. And XAI investing to do that. So good on them. We need more benchmarks like EQ3 or whatever to figure out how people are reacting to this.
Yes.
Well, if you're enjoying What the AI, please like, subscribe, and share the show with friends. It is really the best way to help us grow. Now, we'll move on from Elon and XAI because there's only so much time I want to spend on that. But here's my question for you. If integrating AI directly into the operating system becomes the new battlefield, is Apple about to face its Siri problem on the desktop? So this was interesting. Microsoft taking a decisive step this week with AI agents becoming native citizens of Windows 11. The company is building AI directly into the taskbar, turning OS into a, quote, agentic workspace where autonomous helpers can run tasks, monitor progress, and surface results without the user opening an app. So these agents live on the taskbar, like a little status badge, yellow when they need attention, green when they're done, and they can be triggered or queried through a new Ask a Copilot entry point that blends search with local cloud-based intelligence. And this isn't limited just to the taskbar. Core system apps like File Explorer are being wired into Copilot so users can ask questions about files, generate summaries of them, draft emails, all without leaving just kind of the basic desktop operating system. And the strategy here is unmistakable. Windows is evolving from a traditional desktop into an OS with its AI native and an environment where the agents are kind of doing the work for you, which really raises the question, if Windows becomes the first mainstream agent operating system, what happens if Siri is your agent on your iPhone? Does it demonstrate a potential real risk for Apple with their state of AI capabilities? Because this feels like a threat to the Mac. If you're a Mac user, I mean, I'm a Mac user and I want some of these features, which Apple's pretty slow on. So I'm curious if we're going to see a replay of Siri sucks on the iPhone coming to the Mac as you see more agent-oriented activities in Windows.
I mean, I think Apple has to be sort of nervous right now because like the rhetoric in the world and like what people are talking about is Copilot, all these cool features. It's so useful. And what are people talking about with Siri is I wonder if they'll make a release that doesn't suck.
The bar is not delight the user. The bar is doesn't suck for Siri. Like, that really is the bar, and they have yet to clear it. To be totally frank, I don't know. And you do look at these things in Windows, and I know that Apple's reportedly working with Google and Gemini for the next version of Siri, but the level of deep OS integration that's going on here to give access to underlying files, ideally preferences, applications that are running on there where you could check email and respond to things. That's hard to do, I think, with a third-party partner, and will point to the value of having that direct model in-house and that integration. So I'll be really curious to see how this plays out. But Apple not showing their chops in building this kind of experience, I kind of want it. Like, I'm an iPhone user, I'm a Mac user, and I am, for the first time in years, jealous of Android users and now of Windows users, which I never thought I would say. But I kind of want me some Windows 11 action to play with the little agents running and doing stuff for me.
I could not agree more. Transitioning, Jeff, do you have a lot of group chats going on in your life?
I mean, who doesn't?
Yeah, who doesn't, right?
We live in group chats, right? That's the whole thing.
That's right. And so are you ready to transition to having your group chats live in ChatGPT?
It depends. Maybe a few. Maybe a few.
Okay, well, OpenAI just rolled out group chats in ChatGPT, which is a feature that lets multiple people collaborate with the AI in the same conversation. Up to 20 participants can join a shared thread, and then ChatGPT will jump in whenever it's helpful, or it'll stay quiet if it doesn't have anything to add. Or sometimes it'll even react with emojis or reference sort of participant photos. So that's pretty interesting. Group chats are separate from your privacy chats. So your personal ChatGPT memory isn't going to carry over, and ChatGPT is not going to put you on blast for something in your group chat with your mom, which is great. And so everyone gets the same sort of clean slate. And of course, this matters a lot for privacy and also for businesses thinking about governance, to the extent that instead of group chatting with your mom, you want to group chat with your colleagues, which sounds a lot more useful. The feature initially launched in Japan, New Zealand, South Korea, and Taiwan, but it is now available to all logged in users worldwide.
This was crazy to me, just in the sense, like, we put this in the rundown. You is a couple of countries in Asia, and I made a joke about it. And then, like, 3 days later, like, just kidding, it's available for everybody. And I'm like, oh, I gotta take out my joke and remove the thing. So that moving fast. And I'm actually excited about this. I mean, I use a lot of chats to help prep for these episodes. And the idea that we could now share that as a chat per episode where you can be in there, we can have a shared history of the work we're doing to generate the run is actually quite interesting. And I think I don't know, some people were asking, do people really want a different group chat interface? But I think this is so different than what I would do in a messages or a WhatsApp where I'm really talking to people. But if this is a work experience where I'm trying to research a topic and come up with an answer, and I want to share that research as opposed to a static, here's what I asked Chad and what it told me, but a dynamic environment where we can all ask questions, that seems actually quite useful. I'll be very curious to hear how people are using this in the wild and what they're really doing with it because it seems really cool.
I think it's really cool, and I think the other thing that I have not tried yet, but I am planning to try and pretty excited about is to, especially in the workplace setting when you're collaborating on something and you need somebody's expertise and maybe don't have that person available, you can actually ask chat to play that role in the conversation potentially, right? And say, like, "Hey, can you bring this point of view to the conversation?" And, I think that that would be a super interesting sort of shift as one of those things we've talked about how to make AI as a collaborator slash colleague, and let it play a role in your debates for whatever, thing you might be debating with your colleagues, or at least just trying to, like, flesh out all the different ideas and scenarios on the table.
I'll be curious how real time this is. Like, most of the times I've shared chats now, it's like I finish a whole prompt, a whole series of questions, and I want to share it to I research some technical thing that he needs to do. And here's what I found. So this kind of live, I don't know, people will be sharing and like, one you do a turn, then I do a turn, or if it's going to be like real live chat, it'll be really interesting. Is it like more Slack or more like email or more like messages in terms of the how synchronous we use it? It's a fascinating thing, and we are shifting a lot about the way we work with these tools, and I don't think we really know where we're going to land. So this will be one to watch carefully because it seems super useful, and I expect people will use it in very unexpected ways. To your point, like you can imagine having them in there going, "Please stop us from making judgments. We're in brainstorming mode. Don't let anybody poo-poo any ideas just now, right? Help us spark new ideas, and then move into okay, we're in reducing the ideas mode. Please keep us on track. No more generate. Like you can imagine a facilitator role or a critic role or a red teaming role for chat in these things. It could be really interesting.
I love that, and if there was one integration that I would love more than anything, it would be the ChatGPT, like, this tool, ChatGPT, group chats with Slack. That would be amazing because, like, Slack is where so many companies are getting all of their work direct messaging done, and to the extent that you could integrate this type of feature into that, that would be pretty game changing. So I will wait for that partnership, and that'll be on my Christmas list this year, is a collab between group chats and Slack.
Well, speaking of Christmas lists, have you started your Christmas shopping yet?
I have not, but I did start making a list of what I'm thinking about getting for my Christmas shopping
Black
list.
Friday, we're coming up on Black Friday, Thanksgiving around the corner, and Google wants to use AI to make your shopping a little easier. So we talked about Gemini 3, but this is a little bit different. Google rolling out a set of AI-powered shopping features designed to automate and streamline your holiday purchasing experience. At the center is agentic checkout. There's that word, agentic again. Um, you can now track a specific item down to size, color, and budget. And when the price drops to your target, Google offers to buy it via Google Pay only after it's confirmed. This sounds super cool to me. Another feature lets you shop conversationally through Google Search and AI mode. So instead of fiddling with filters and keywords, you just describe what you want: a cozy sweater for the holidays and a warm autumn color. And AI returns shoppable visuals, price reviews, inventory comparisons, all sorts of suggestions, really powered on Google's enormous shopping graph with over 50 billion products. And then users can ask Gemini for shopping support, brainstorming gifts, browsing listings, seeing pricing and buying options, all within chat. And this last one was one of my favorites because I've done this before. Google Search now offers an option to let Google call nearby stores on your behalf to tell it. You tell it what product you want near me, and the assistant will use Google Duplex to call the stores and check inventory and pricing and promotions, and then send you a summary of where you can go to find the thing in person that you wanted to buy. This is like this is the agentic vision coming to life. Hey, can you call around to all the nearby whatever stores and see where I can pick up one of these today? And it just does it. Like that sounds super cool. So I love seeing these not just models coming out, but how do we turn it into real practical, useful things? Like all of these features seems like things I will use over the next holiday shopping season, the next month.
Yeah, I love this idea of just being able to, like, set your price target, and then when it hits it, it just kinda automatically does it for you because prices on these things are constantly shifting around, and we have that, functionality in Google Flights where it'll let you, like, let me know when the price drops to some number, I'm gonna buy my ticket, but to be able to do that with whatever your latest, I don't even know, what are the Labubus? Is
The
that what they're called?
Labubus? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, the Labubus.
whatever the newest, like, shopping trend is, when this is, like, a reasonable price, then I'll buy it. Amazing.
Probably when the Labubus are a reasonable price, they won't be trendy to have anymore. That's like the whole thing about them, right? Is they're unreasonably priced. But yeah, I love this. Like, watch the price for me. I can't wait till they make it smart, where it's like, hey, I want either of these two things. Find, this is my price delta in my mind. So when one drops below X or the other one drops below Y, just like go grab it for me. I hope they integrate these confirmations on the mobile phone so you can start a search on the desktop and then it'll pop up like, hey, we found your thing for the price you want. Do you want me to do it? Yeah, please ship it home. It really does feel like I know everybody always talks about shopping as one of the easiest agentic use cases, but it makes so much sense. And when you hear these things, I was just now this week shopping for a thing at Home Depot that my son needs for a project he's doing this weekend, and like they're out of stock and the shipping was delayed. And I'm going, okay, how many stores nearby have something like this? And man, I would have used this feature all day to kind of search around inventory for this at different stores, locations nearby. Super useful set of features. And again, I'm becoming more and more bullish on Google, though I haven't switched my personal behavior from ChatGPT to Gemini. I feel like they've got a lot of assets here, and this is another example of them bringing them to bear in new and interesting ways.
Yes, I agree. Very cool. Well, we're going to wrap up this week with a somewhat odd story. Feels like we're almost going from talking about Christmas and Thanksgiving back to talking about Halloween for a second. But would you want an AI version of a deceased loved one showing up at your future life events, talking, reacting, and quote unquote being there long after they're gone? A new app says yes, but the internet responded absolutely no. So, this is a new startup called Two Way, just launched with a bold promise, which is to create interactive holo avatars of people who've passed away using only a few minutes of video. And once generated, the avatars can speak, respond, and even appear in future life event videos like birthdays, graduations, and weddings. The company says its mission is simple: to help families preserve meaningful connections across generations. A promo clip posted by the founder showed an AI grandmother interacting with her grandson from infancy to adulthood. It immediately went viral, and
Of course.
not in a good way. I thought this might be an example of all press is good press, but maybe not so much in this case. Thousands of responses just called the demo super unsettling, really intrusive, ethically off limits. Critics argue that this tech risks interfering with grief, rewriting memories, or simulating someone who can no longer give consent. Despite the backlash, Two-Way is pushing ahead. The beta model is free. It's on the Apple App Store with a tiered subscription model coming soon and Android support on the roadmap. So the company is positioning this as the next evolution of digital remembrance, but the public reaction suggests society really isn't ready to bring the dead back in this way.
I'm going to stick to videos personally of my family members. I've got some. I was very lucky to get photos of my kids with my grandmother, of both my kids. And so those are special memories, but like this is just crazy to me. I mean, it's not surprising that somebody's done it, right? As soon as you knew you could create an avatar of someone, a real live person, you just knew people were going to use it to bring people back. But it seems so ethically fraught. And what kind of words are you putting in that person's mouth? What kind of experiences? You just can't. It seems wild, but not surprising to me. And hey, kudos to them for figuring out how to like capture the. I mean, if nothing else, they've gotten a lot of attention. So I'm sure that whoever came with that marketing video, like, good job, I guess. But product manager, I'm not so on board with the strategy here.
I don't know. I feel like whoever came up with this needs to sort of take a test on that EQ benchmark thing because this definitely feels in the creepy realm to me. Although I do wonder one thing that I kind of pushed myself on is so I if I pressure test, if I wanted to would I make a video like this of my grandmother? It was absolutely not. My grandmother is somebody who was like such a big influence in my life. I had, so many wonderful years of conversation and love and respect with her. But what about my great great grandmother? If I could do that, somebody I'd never met, would that feel different if it's like four layers removed? So because there'll be some generations in the future where video footage of their great great grandparent is actually still available. So I could see that being somewhat less creepy, although I'm still a little creeped out by it.
It is interesting, as particularly if you don't think about it from today backwards, but from today forwards, where the digital footprint of people is much larger, your ability to recreate their likeness in some way, shape, or form. I can imagine it being kind of interesting, like talk to my grandfather when he was 12 or 16 or 25, when certain people in your life at certain moments in their lives, but not, when they were your age, for instance. And there was this interesting study, totally unrelated, but I'm gonna bring it up here roughly, which is they had ChatGPT and other things try to mimic somewhat famous author styles, and then they had humans do it. And it was very clear that the human professional writers were better at it until they fine-trained the models on the specific writings of this author. And with a relatively modest amount of text from the author, all of a sudden the models were able to recreate a fake version of their text that looked more like the real thing to human reviewers than the professional human writer generator version. And so were you able to come up with something that could really feel and sound and express thoughts in the manner of that person who's got a large digital footprint to build on? I don't know. Maybe I see it. It still feels a little creepy. I don't know how you give permission. Maybe I've got to like set it up for myself before I go. So, as a you leave it in the will for your grandkids the way you do other things. But you made me think about a little more talking about people I didn't know or thinking about people I knew, but at a different point in their life when I didn't know them and what would it have been like to talk to my grandfather at that age. It's an interesting question.
I think you made the right point, which is that it's better to invest your time in actually making the digital, remembrance of the person's actual memory. My uncle and I actually did that with my grandmother, for several years before she passed away. We sat down for a couple hours at a time and interviewed her over the course of like 5 years. So we have about 12 hours of her whole life history
Oh, wow.
recorded. So I got that instead of AI, and that's better. So I think in my will, I'm putting the please don't make me come back as AI. Let me go. That'll be my wishes.
Maybe the right product is that kind of interview product where we record the information and you've got kind of a video photo book. And, you can have the AI avatar as an option, but I think that kind of digital recollection is so powerful and that ability to kind of remember it. And even the process of making it, right? Talking to the person and hearing the stories firsthand, I think is really powerful. We've had my kids interview their grandparents a few times and they always come away I think it really deepens their understanding and appreciation of the generations that came before. So I thought I had a very firm opinion and now you've maybe changed my mind. We'll have to keep thinking on this one, but I think that's it for this week on What the AI. As always, we will be back next week. Annie, I will see you then.
See you next week.
Ready to expand your AI knowledge? Want to become the go-to AI expert in your organization? Take the next step with Upstart's AI certification for financial services. This comprehensive course simplifies the fundamentals of artificial intelligence for financial services professionals. Both the course and this podcast are brought to you by Upstart, whose leading AI lending marketplace connects millions of consumers to banks and credit unions that leverage Upstart's AI technology to deliver superior credit products, from personal loans to auto loans to home equity lines of credit. If you learned something useful this week, hit subscribe on YouTube or leave us a rating on iTunes or Spotify. Your support can help others discover What the AI. And finally, share your biggest AI questions and insights with us at email@whattheai.fm. We really do read every message and we do our best to cover them all on the show.